And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Meanwhile, in the pod cave.
Another edition of the Podmen. I'm Brad.
I'm Brian.
Podman Ron.
And I'm Jacob.
That's right. Jacob is back in lieu of Alex. I do have to mention first, right off the top, as if you didn't know already, everyone, this is the 150th episode of the Podmen.
Whoa.
Yeah, let's give ourselves that.
That's going to come in awful in post.
Yeah, and we are in front of a live audience, and actually all the Podmen are together, minus Alex, and that's why Jacob is filling in for us right now. But right. We're all actually in the same room, and we actually have the Pod Minis and the Pod Wives around here.
So this very well may be the last episode.
Yes, 150 and we're done.
This is it. They found out, everybody.
The wives found out what we've been doing, and they are not happy about it at all. And speaking of not happy about it, many of the folks here on the podcast, not myself, went and saw Black Widow.
Yes, we did.
Today, as we record this, was the premiere of Black Widow.
This is why we're recording tonight.
This is why we're recording tonight.
So Black Widow, all episodes.
All Black Widow, all the time. So let's go ahead and just go into the movie reviews.
The movie review.
The movie review.
And we do have our special guest joining us tonight, Jack Daniels.
Yes. Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels is riding co-pilot here on
this episode is brought to you by Jack Daniels.
Don't say that.
Apple. Oh,
we need the sponsors. We'll take it happily. Let's go into it. So, Black Widow. Brian, tell us a little bit about the history of this movie actually coming to the cinemas. It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been, we were talking earlier, it's been 2+ years since we had the last MCU movie, which was Spider-Man Far From Home.
Not 2+.
Yeah, because it came out 4th of July weekend.
And what a disappointment.
Yeah, so it's been 2+ years. Originally, this was supposed to come out last year. It was greenlit, I think, right after Wonder Woman, like after the success of Wonder Woman. And so it's been in development for like 5 years-ish.
Couldn't tell.
So, couldn't tell. Yeah, so it's been a long road to Black Widow. But, yeah.
Not true.
A long road to Black Widow. And, Jacob, was this trip worth it?
Absolutely not.
You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes. Choosing between what the world wants you to be. And who you are.
PMR, you've been trying to get me to go to this movie. I refuse to go.
Oh, no.
Tell me why I should have went to this movie.
Why you should have went?
Right, do you regret going to this movie?
No, I don't regret it, of course. I mean, it was a decent movie. It was kind of slow in the middle. I fell asleep a little bit during the middle of it.
A little bit.
And, the action scenes were good.
This is a PMR review. The action was good. Not good. The directing was good.
It was okay.
It was all right, yeah.
Brad, we've uncovered one mystery. The reason PMR refuses to go to a movie by himself is not because he wants to appear like he doesn't have friends or is alone. Is because he needs someone to nudge him every 7 to 10 minutes to wake him back up.
Sorry, the movie just couldn't keep my interest during the middle of it. I mean, I just sat around and talked for like 20, 30 minutes.
All the movies and all that talking. And then I wake up and it's an explosion. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Man?
Well, I do have to tell everybody, I'm pretty sure you remember this as well. I think we both went and saw Logan together.
Yeah, we both
I think we both fell asleep.
We were both in the sleep.
We were both asleep.
Leaving against each other.
I think that's a true statement. And Logan was a great movie.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, so...
Thank God I had seen it before me and you went and saw it. So
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that explains a little bit then.
I already knew.
All right, however, back to Black Widow. So Black Widow, set the whole thing up. So for listeners out there, the listener out there, who may not know, Black Widow is dead. How did she get this movie? What's she doing in this movie, for God's sake?
Well, I mean, it was a flash. Well, it wasn't really a flashback, but I guess it was a. This was set after Civil War, so she's on the run from the government.
As opposed to PMR moving closer to the mic, I have to actually move the mic.
She was
There we go.
she was on the run from the government. It was
PMR.
It was 2016 instead of 2023 is where the current Marvel universe is set up.
Oh,
And it was right after Civil War, and she was on the run. She was on the lam. And so the beginning of the movie, though, flashes back to, I think we determined it was like 1995, and when she was a little girl. And it was shades of the TV
Americans.
show The Americans. You know, it was shades of that TV show where she was living with what she believed was her mom, and well, actually, she did. She knew it wasn't her mom.
Her
and dad.
sister,
But her
Yelena.
sister.
Yeah.
So her sister did not know that they weren't a real family, but they were a sleeper cell of Russian spies in a neighborhood, and so at just one night, the dad comes home, played by David Harbour, who was the Red Guardian.
Red Guardian.
He comes home and says, "It's time, we got to go." They pack up. He grabs the kids. They go to an airfield, jump on a plane. They get into a shootout with SHIELD agents.
Oh.
And they escape. They go to Cuba. The mom, supposedly, who we were to believe was her mom, she was shot, but she didn't die. But they...
Basically, Red Guardian gave the girls to the Russian government for them to
Red
put
Room.
into the Red Room and the winter and the Black Widow
But I
program.
think they were already part of that. I mean, they were.
Well, they established that Natasha was.
Yeah.
So she'd gone through the program, but Elena had not gone through the program. So that was part of the.
Technically, they weren't really sisters.
No, they were never sisters. But the whole thing is, and it comes up later in the story. But the Elena, she didn't know any different. Like, she was too young to know that they were a sleeper cell. For as far as she was concerned, it was their real family. And part of the whole thing is Natasha had already been through the Red Room, so she was pissed because she knew what was happening. She knew they were going to take her, and she pulls out a gun and tries to draw down on the Russian agents. So.
All right. And that's the movie, basically, right?
Basically, that was it.
Okay, so that's
The
a
origin
good
story
setup.
was really good. I really did like the origin story.
Okay, great. All right.
I still don't understand why her hair was blue.
She was just a.
She had blue. Who had blue hair?
Natasha.
Interesting. Wow.
I think they were just establishing she likes the color of her hair.
We should have right up front.
that's true.
Spoiler alert, right?
Yeah, spoiler alert. That was the
alert,
spoiler.
That was a. Come on, Jacob. Come on.
Really?
You got a lot to learn, intern. Spoiler alert on that one.
That part of the movie was good. I liked her origin story. It kind of explained why she was. She spoke such good American. I mean, she's
American. She's real good American.
Oh my God. Hey, speaking of which, Plugman Ron, have you watched America the Motion Picture yet?
not yet. No.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, but the movie kind of dragged in the middle. Really.
Right when you fell asleep.
When I fell asleep.
Yeah, the plot didn't make a lot of sense towards the middle.
I don't know what the hell happened. I just woke up
I
and.
felt like the villain was kind of lame. The main villain was a little over the top, kind of lame.
All right, so let's
Who do you think the main villain
It was
was?
the old man.
Oh,
Ray Winstone plays the Russian. That's
Where have we seen that guy at before?
he was in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He was the guy that turned on Indy.
He was his partner.
Yeah, his partner, but turned on him at the beginning of Kingdom of the Crystal
God,
Skull.
that was so awful.
That was awful memory for all of us.
Ooh, Crystal Skull.
So before we get into the villains, let's talk a little bit about the heroes. So tell me a little bit about Red Guardian and the was the Black Widow's mother or real mother, fake mother, whatever mother, was she a superhero as well? Jacob, you got this one?
I got it.
Okay.
So Helena, who was the sleeper cell mother for Natasha.
Melina.
Oh, sorry,
Melina, whichever one.
It doesn't matter.
It does. She had gone through the Red Room program, I believe, 4 times. Is what they said.
I think it was 6.
Or 6.
She'd gone through the programming 6 times.
Yeah, and so she was like kind of the top the top widow, and she worked right along with Draco or whatever.
Ivan Draco?
No.
What? Oh, okay.
That would have been a much better movie if it wouldn't.
You're talking about Russian, so I thought maybe. Okay, go ahead.
But so
Draco's
Melina,
like Smith in Russian.
I gotcha.
So Melina was like, and they call her the architect because she helped him build up the program and figure out all of the details and all that kind of stuff. And then the Red Guardian was like the muscle.
Well, he was their Captain America. He was the
Yeah.
only Russian super soldier. And so what they established was that when Black Widow, when Natasha was in the program, they conditioned them to follow orders. But when Natasha broke free and defected to the U.S., they developed a chemical program to keep people subjugated.
That's the Taskmaster?
So to keep to chemically keep them subjugated to the.
I think we just had a live spoiler happen here. Tamara, do you have anything you want to add here? What is going on? This is not a very visual medium, so basically I'll describe what happened. Tamara, one of the podwives, just spoiled something for Podman Ron, I believe. Is there something you want to talk about, Tamara? No, she said. She mouthed. She didn't even say it. She didn't even want to be on to say it.
Taskmaster was
No, he kept making fun of the actor that was the Taskmaster, and
love chunk.
and I just showed him a picture of her.
Ooh, spoiler.
Yeah. So Taskmaster, you find out that it's actually Antonia is the Taskmaster, who is Dracov's daughter, and so it was a female all the time. A lot of people thought that
It was
Melina, Rachel Weisz, was going to be the Taskmaster, but
Or Hawkeye.
A lot of people thought that it was the person from Goonies, though.
Right.
So,
Mother John?
so there's
Like that?
no, but she's scarred. She's scarred, and when when they take her helmet off at the end, basically Black Widow thinks she tried to kill Dreykov, and that you find out was the mission that her and Hawkeye went on in Budapest.
Gotcha.
But and so they've hinted at
But
Budapest.
they won't quit talking about.
And-
Yeah, exactly.
And so it turns out what Natasha did was Dracov's daughter was dropped off at his office, and she used her to confirm that Dreykov was in the building. And so when the daughter got to Dreykov's office, that's when she blew the bomb to kill Dreykov. Well, so Natasha believed that she had killed his daughter, and that was her big regret. Well, then the reveal at the end of the movie is the Taskmaster was his daughter, and she's all scarred. She's all burned in the face. And she had brain damage, so they had to put a chip in the back of her head to basically get
Very
her.
confusing movie here.
Yeah, to get her to respond. And that's when he discovered that, oh, wait, the chip, I can download and program
Other people's
abilities.
I've
Yeah.
gotcha. Very layered. This is like Jacob's onion. Very layered.
Very, very
Let's
layered.
just say, though, the when they revealed the Taskmaster to the audience, she's got this psychotic look about her, and
She's got a 1,000-yard stare, and she's scarred on one side of her face.
So she looks a little mentally challenged.
Oh, wow. Well, that does not sound good at all. And I think the podwives are all tapping out at this point.
And so as the movie goes on, Natasha actually saves her.
Oh.
And they have like a moment where Antonia's helmet comes off, Taskmaster's helmet comes off, and Black Widow's right there, and somebody in the theater said, "Sloth love chunk."
Uh-oh.
And
Got a good laugh, hopefully?
he got a pretty good laugh.
Oh, okay, that's worth it then.
Sloth love chunk. And now, whenever I see her jump off the helicarrier thing, I keep wanting to go, "Hey, you guys!"
Well, what he's trying to say, they took a cool villain from the Taskmaster, which is a cool villain in the comics, and they really screwed it up.
Now, was this the only villain? Like, this doesn't feel like a very superhero movie. This was more of a spy movie?
Very weak. It was a spy movie.
This was a Winter Soldier. It's basically
it was a Winter Soldier. It was like a Jason Bourne type movie.
Oh, it was definitely Jason Bourne.
But I feel like the villains just weren't strong enough. I think the villains were very weak, especially Taskmaster.
I mean, it was cool.
Taskmaster, he was cool, or she was cool when she was fighting and stuff. When she had the helmet,
though. That's the problem.
And I kind of got a Jason vibe with Taskmaster. Wow. Yeah, it was kind of a little Jason vibe because he was kind of creepy when he just kind of stand up. But then after a while,
it's more of a Michael Myers vibe. I feel like
then it just got a little stupid.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, this is
just like Friday the 13th movies.
This is not the way they wanted to kick off the Marvel. Is this kicking off Phase 4 or
no? I
technically, I don't know.
I don't think it is.
No.
I think
Phase 4.
This is all Phase 4 as far as Feige's concerned. But I think what this is really doing is. Well, we got to get into it is Phase 4, but you got to get into like the post credit scene because as I predicted on the podcast. Just like the Marvel TV shows, which have no bearing on the cinematic universe, the stakes could not have been lower. You're introduced to Red Guardian and White Widow or Elena, whatever she's going to be called. You're introduced to her mother. She took down she took down the Red Room. None of it was ever referenced in because this happened after Civil War. So you had. 2 Avengers movies after this, right?
No one talked about it.
And nobody bothered talking about it at all. No, they were busy, but it's even when she dies or when she's on the rocket ship with Clint, like you'd think she'd want to share some of this these findings.
That she finally killed Dreykov.
Hey, guess what, Clint?
She tried to kill Dreykov with Hawkeye, with Clint.
The only thing that appeared in this film that was even referenced in the other films is apparently the vest she wore.
We lost our
our audience was very excited
like,
at the
done.
beginning, and then they just slowly went over.
This is what it is?
This is horrible.
We're done.
The only thing that follows her into any other movies is Elena's got a vest with lots of pockets, and I remember vaguely Black Widow talking about like the vest having a lot of pockets. Like, so apparently she got the vest from Elena.
So they kind of retconned it in.
They retconned it in. But that was literally the only thing that carried over was a fashion choice.
No, the jet.
Oh, the jet.
The jet at the end.
The jet she got from...
The jet that she drives up on, and she doesn't say anything until the camera pans to it, and she went, where'd you get this jet? Now, she didn't notice that when she drove up on the guy that got her the jet, that there was a big jet sitting out in the field.
No.
But, never mind.
What jet, though? From the new movie, or the...
It's like it's a Quinn jet. It looks like a Quinn jet.
Okay, gotcha.
Or that Captain America and them had when they rescued divisions.
Gotcha.
They were in that jet.
Okay.
So,
all right, fair enough. Go ahead.
The best part of the film was probably Elena. I liked her.
I liked her, and I did like Red Guardian. I did.
Well, yeah, and Red Guardian, yeah.
I like both of them.
Red Guardian, it was interesting because Red Guardian kept talking about when he fought Captain America, but he was in prison from like 95 on. So you don't know if they let him out or if he completely made it up. But did you guys get when he was actually fighting Taskmaster? Taskmaster was using Captain America's move, so it's like he did get his fight with Captain America, which was kind of cool.
I thought Red Guardian was very cool. I liked him. I liked the lady who was his wife. I don't know if it was his wife, but who was playing, Rachel McAdams. I thought she was all right.
Yeah, she was cool.
Rachel Weisz. Rachel Weisz.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Whichever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Potato.
I thought she was good.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
You're going to get the back hunch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my God, this.
Up.
All right, enough, all of you.
I didn't say anything. That's not fair.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Brian. You've established there's no ramifications in this movie. There's no
stakes. Couldn't have been lower.
There's no stakes. We do know that there is a post-credit scene that does kind of bring a few things into play. Before we get into that, though, Brian, let's hear a little bit what did you like about this movie? It sounds like this was just an okay movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It's fine for a standalone film. You know, it's kind of like MCU light, right? It didn't play into any of the bigger MCU characters or storyline. It was a totally, you do not need to watch this film
to connect everything.
To connect anything to anything else in the MCU. That being said, Red Guardian was really funny. He was absolutely the comic relief, right? And
Elena
then
too.
Elena was really good. The best part about Elena is she kept pointing out the absurdity of what happened. So she actually asks Black Widow at one point, she's like, what's that thing? Why do you do that thing? And she's like, what thing? She goes, where you land and you do this with your hair. And she gets down and does the one hand on the ground and the near split and then whips her hair back, which, Black Widow does literally every time she's on screen. And so she points it out, and at that point you can't unsee it, which is pretty great. So, but yeah, and the best story arc was probably Elena, because she was like, Black Widow's like it wasn't real. Red Guardian's like, well, I love you girls, and when it all comes down to, Elena's like, it was real to me. That was the best 3 years of my life. Like, as far as I knew, you were my family, and now, so she was having the hardest time reconciling everything. So she had the best arc.
So in all honesty, I mean, if you're looking back at this movie and where they're telling Natasha's story, I think they're also telling Elena's story to get you prepared for.
Yeah, she'll
Elena.
be the Black Widow.
She'll be the
or
new
White
Black
Widow.
or the White Widow. She's carrying on the mantle. So they've kind of done a twofold thing. They've told you the origin of Natasha, but they've also told you the origin of the new Black Widow, so they can carry forward with that. So,
and that leads directly into the post-credit scene.
Right. So, Jacob, you want to talk about as you say, what's the
Contessa?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I agree. Red Guardian, Yelena, and Budapest were my favorite parts of the movie. I thought it was really cool that they finally explained what Budapest was and how they were and how the plan was to kill Dreykov, and that's when Black Widow and Hawkeye spent a lot of time together, and that's how they got their bond. There's a scene where apparently they were in a vent for 2 days, figuring, yeah.
Well, because once they tried to kill Dreykov, the whole city went on lockdown, and so they were on the run trying to get out of the city. And you actually see it's pretty cool. They're in a vent in a subway station, and she's like, "Yeah, how'd you know this was here?" And I used to one time I had to spend 2 days up here, and you can see they pan up, and you can see where Clint and Black Widow were playing hangman and stuff and tic tac toe.
Very cool. But Hawkeye doesn't there's no flashbacks of him. No references.
There's a reference, but there is no flashback of him. Okay. So that brings us to, so we probably need to talk about the post-credit scene separately from the rest of the film.
Spoiler.
We've literally just explained the majority of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, what else before the post-credit scene? Is there anything else? I mean, let's just go ahead and give a rating. How about that?
I'm excited for Red Guardian, though. I think.
I don't think he's coming back.
I hope he does.
I know you hope he does.
I like those, Crimson Dynamo, Red Guardian, Nurse Major.
Jacob. I liked Red Guardian too, and I think Harbour, what's his name?
David Harbour.
David Harbour did a good job with the character, and I think that if he slims up a little bit, and I shouldn't be drinking when I talk about this stuff. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
I think they, now it shows Red Guardian as an overweight,
like Thor,
Endgame. Exactly. He's down on his luck, but I think this mission might have got him. He's back. And
he's back, baby.
And he kept talking about getting back in the suit. I want to get back in the suit. So he got back in the suit. I think it would be kind of cool to see him again. So,
and they did name check Crimson Dynamo.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. And I was trying to think. Jacob was asking me who else was in. What were they called? The
Soviet super soldiers.
Yeah, it was Crimson Dynamo,
Big Bear, and
Ursa Major,
and Volstock, which was
Volstock. That's who I couldn't figure.
What was the woman? Blonde hair and black outfit.
That was. She was also an X-Men. She dated Iceman and the Champions. What was her name?
That was barking up the wrong tree there.
Yeah. What a waste of time.
Yeah, what a waste of time.
But yeah, Ursa Major, which I always thought was cool because he would turn into a grizzly bear, right? But he was a major in the military.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, so it was a...
But no reference to those guys.
No, just Crimson Dynamo.
Which I like. I think Crimson Dynamo is pretty cool.
I guess so. He's kind of the Russian Iron Man. Is that?
Well, like the whole thing.
Yeah, he's Russian Iron Man.
Like Red Guardian and Crimson Dynamo were created because of the Red Scare
Okay.
with the Cold War.
All right.
And so it was all
they
battle
wanted-
on Russia and all that kind of
Star,
stuff.
yeah.
Dark Star.
Dark Star. There was
Let me see,
Perun.
Gremlin.
Perun was also, he was the Thor. Perun.
Oh, Gremlin.
Yeah.
Vanguard, Sputnik, Ursa Major, Red Guardian. And then there's some other ones I've never heard of. Blind Faith, I've never heard of Blind Faith. I've never heard of Devastator. Cybercat.
Bill Mantlo, one of the
Bill Mantlo.
creators, created by Bill Mantlo.
Yeah.
All right.
Rocket Raccoon and other of your favorites.
There's
Let me see.
Red Guardian.
Let me see Volstagg.
Let me look at the pictures here. So, Jacob, give us I want you to give us a rating here of a 1 to 5. Jacob, what do you give this movie?
1 to 5. What?
Wow. Really?
It's not a 2.
No, it's not a 2, but a 3.
You give it a 3, an honorable 3. What about a binary? If you could say either see this movie or don't see this movie, a 0 or a 1, what do you say?
Vanguard was the one with.
I mean, it's a black man. You kind of like.
Wow. Jacob is struggling here.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, the problem is it's just a disappointment. I had high hopes for this movie.
All right. It sounds like you're going to lean to a 0, a binary rating of a 0.
I think you should still watch it.
So it's a 1.
Form your own
All
opinion.
right, then it's a 1.
But-
Brian,
That's Vanguard.
Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say 3 and a 1. Here's the thing, like unlike intern Jacob, I said definitively this was going to have no bearing on the rest of the
It's not
MCU.
going to be a good movie.
This is
I'm
just,
sorry I had faith
This
in
is
the Marvel
just the
Cinematic
same.
Universe.
It's just the same as the TV universe.
Volstagg.
Oh yeah, Volstagg. That's cool.
Visions.
But yeah, so it's worth seeing. I think if you took this movie out and said it was in Phase 1, which I mean, or Phase 2, early Phase 2, which it kind of is, it would be considerably better.
I think you're
Right?
Yeah.
If this was in Phase 2, but there's too much history that they don't address, and then too much stuff has happened since this happened, it makes it less and less important. They waited way too long to tell this story. This should have been a Phase 2 movie. If it was Phase 2, infinitely better.
Well, Podman, Ron, before I get to your rating, I am curious because last week, of course, we talked about F9. And you can't talk about the Fast and the Furious without talking about family. And now you've seen another movie that's essentially about family, right? I mean, you're turning into the family guy here.
I'm
You
the
love
guy,
movies
man.
about families.
I do.
And as we learned in the last episode of the Podmen, you're burning out on some of these action movies and superhero movies. So what's your rating on this?
This one hasn't really reinvigorated me on
It's
this.
not rekindled?
No, Brian made a good point that I really didn't think of, but I think he's really right. He's correct with the fact that this should have been like a Phase 2, a Phase 1 movie. I mean, because right now, I mean, you have nothing to look forward to at Black Widow. I mean, she's dead. She's worm food. I would have liked to have seen, them reveal that she was a Skrull and lead into Secret War.
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion with this, yeah. And that would have been kind of cool, but... Scarlett Johansson has made it a Johansson has made it clear this week that she is done with the Marvel Universe, and this was her swan song. So,
just like Loki, Tom Hiddleston.
It just kind of there's nothing to this movie. I mean, it would have been a good Phase 1, Phase 2. It's a decent movie to watch. I don't think I'd ever watch it again, though, to be quite honest with you. And
so give us your rating.
I'd give it a 3.
Okay. And a 1 or a 0?
I'd give it a 1 because
because I'd already spent the money on it.
But I mean,
none of you guys are convincing me I should wait 3 months until it's free on Disney Plus. I don't think. But I think that's what I'll do.
If you watch the Marvel Universe movies, the MCU stuff, I mean, then you need to watch this. But it's not what I would run out and.
Here's the thing with a normal.
The first day it's out.
with a normal
Knowing what I know
MCU
now,
movie,
no.
I normally watch it twice in the theaters, right?
Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't watch
there
this
is no
twice.
reason to watch this twice in the theater.
Wow.
No.
And honestly, like
I would
the scope of it, you know,
fun.
it would be perfectly passable on a television screen.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I mean, it other than the ending was the credit scene, the stinger at the end. I liked that. That was good because it has bearings on what's going on. in the
Yeah,
movie.
but I got issues with it too.
All right.
Can we talk about
let's-
that?
Yeah, go
Honestly,
ahead and
yeah.
talk about it. Somebody who wants to set up the end credit scene
Brian's
here?
better at it.
Brian,
All right,
go ahead.
so in the movie they establish
I
that
will say I called it. I said,
Oh, you did
Yeah.
call
I
it?
did call it.
All right. And before you
I was
go
really
into
surprised
when you were right.
when I was right. I was very surprised because I thought I just pulled
well,
it out of my ass.
and the only reason I thought he was wrong is because I thought it was such low. Again, I was like, if it's
Somebody's
gonna
got to be smarter than that.
somebody's got to be smarter. A, smarter than that, and B, like this has been so low stakes. If they're going to put something at the end, it'll at least be something, higher stakes. And we'd heard rumor that Robert Downey Jr. had maybe even filmed scenes for this, right? So, but
And I want to cut you off before you go. I know you're going to give us a little setup here, but tell us what happens at the end with Natasha. Where after this movie, she walks into the next set, and that is
They don't
Avengers
explain it.
Endgame, or
So essentially, I would assume, but it's very strange. At the end, the bad guy has his own version of a helicarrier, right? And that's why they can't find the Red Room, is because because it moves, right? And so they set free all the Black Widows that are in that program. You find out there's hundreds of them across the world, and she has the database where they're all located. And that's basically where Elena, White Widow, goes, right, is to go set them all free. So her, Red Guardian, the mom, Milena, they all go off with about 20 of the Black Widows from the program to go set the rest free. So they take off in a jet. But part of Black Widow's plan is is Thunderbolt Ross is chasing her because it's after Civil War, right? Okay. So her plan is they're going to find the Red Room, and she's going to set off her tracker so that Thunderbolt Ross brings the cavalry to arrest her, but they find the Red Room. Well, after they destroy it because it's up in the air and they crash down to Earth, she does set off she sets off her tracker, and so Thunderbolt Ross and all pull up and arrest her. And then it says,
Well, it don't really show that they arrested her, though.
well, it doesn't show that they arrest her, but then but she's on the run the next time we see her, right?
2 weeks later.
So then it says 2 weeks later, and she's just riding on a motorcycle, and she pulls up, and the guy she'd been using to get her equipment and intel and that sort of thing has got her this Quinjet, right? So she flies off in the Quinjet, and that's the way the movie ends. But you don't know, did Thunderbolt Ross arrest her? Did he let her go? Did she escape again? All we know is she has blonde hair and a Quinjet.
Okay. So in movie chronological order, what comes next?
What comes next chronologically would be Infinity War, where she's with Steve and they save Vision and Wanda.
I don't think that's exactly next. I think there's a bit more in between because
No, her hair's blonde.
Movie-wise,
Yeah, the thing that's telling you the order is the vest and the blonde hair.
Oh.
The very next thing, the next time you see her is when they save Vision and Wanda at the beginning of Infinity War.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
All
the
right,
way.
So in credits, Natasha flies off. Everybody's happy. She's got blonde hair. Credits roll, and then what happens?
So in the film, they established Natasha wanted to know who her mother was, and Dragoff says, "I don't even know her name. She was buried under a cherry blossom tree." And I remember the gravestone said "unknown," and he thought it was really funny because he was never going to tell her what his mom's real name was. But so then it shows a cherry blossom tree, and then you see Elena pull up and get out and walks up to a gravestone, and it's Natasha's gravestone, right? And there's flowers and stuff and all up under it. And apparently they would whistle like a call sign to each other, and it happened a couple of times during the movie. And so Elena whistles her side of the call sign as she's kind of like, slumped over the.
And then somebody whistles it back.
Somebody blows their nose. So then you hear someone blow their nose, and they pan out, and it's Contessa Valentina.
Wow.
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Actually, it's Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I know it's hard, but I don't like to repeat myself, so you can just call me Val.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is standing there.
This was a shocker.
And
I was shocked because I thought, my God, I was right. For once, I was right.
I'm smarter than they are.
I'm smarter than they are.
And so, and Elena says basically, you're not supposed to bother me when I'm on vacation, basically, yeah. As a part of our agreement, you're not supposed to bother me when we're on vacation. And Contessa says, well, I thought you'd want to be able to go after the guy that's responsible for her death.
Ooh.
And she shows her a tablet, and it's Clint.
Aha.
Clint Barton, Hawkeye, in his Ronin suit.
So we're now set up for the Hawkeye show.
Yeah, so we're set. So low stakes,
Yeah.
and the carryover is not into, Multiverse of Madness. The carryover is not into Quantum Mania.
Well,
the carryover is into
to the TV
another
show.
TV
To
show.
that carryover, to the Hawkeye part, but she's putting together.
Yes.
Because my prediction is Shang-Chi, at the stinger on Shang-Chi, is going to be, she's going to appear before the Abomination. Because we know that he's going to be there.
Yeah.
So what she's doing is she's going after the...
Well, it's like Phase 1 where Nick Fury kept showing up recruiting Avengers.
Right.
But she's going after the doppelgangers of the Avengers. So you had U.S. Agent as Captain America. You have Black Widow, the White Widow. You're going to have Abomination for the Hulk. I don't know who you're going to get for Thor. Maybe Loki. Maybe she'll show up for Loki and come up to
or
him.
maybe she'll show up for what's his name?
Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
Well,
Or Hercules.
Hercules. I mean, because is he going to be in Eternals? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Eternals.
Oh.
Hercules is in Eternals. And then I was also thinking at Multiverse of Madness, she could go after Mordru.
The bad guy.
What's the Baron?
Yeah.
Oh, what's his
can't think
name?
of Yeah.
Oh, Baron Mordo
Yeah, Baron Mordo
for Doctor Strange.
for Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So I mean, she's recruiting the Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts.
Well, and see, that's what I was thinking was she's probably recruiting Dark Avengers, and then when you'll have like a group version of Civil War, or you'll just have Civil War again,
Right.
where the Dark Avengers, you'll have good and bad members, and then they'll revolt against each other, and then that's probably what'll set up Thunderbolts. Is the good Dark Avengers.
And then you've got Armor Wars coming, so you'll have Justin Hammer as I don't think she'll recruit Rhodey because he's an Avenger, but
Justin Hammer's going to
Justin
be
Hammer will be
Iron Man.
Will be in that.
Is Justin Hammer in Armor Wars?
I think we've heard rumors that he's going to be in.
Because if there's one thing in the MCU that I miss, that I wish would bring, is Justin Hammer.
You know what? You watch Iron Man 2. Everybody shits on that movie, but I'm sorry. I loved Iron Man 2, and
It's a good movie.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. Well, without Sam Rockwell.
Well, yeah, but he is fantastic.
Yeah, he's so good in that movie. But yeah,
Gary Shandling.
and Gary Shandling. Don't forget.
God rest his soul.
Wait,
So. He lived
The Senator.
when the armor spins around and snaps that guy's spine. He's like, it's worth noting that guy lived.
He was so great, and Robert Downey Jr. played it great with him too. It's like other technologies, 5-6 years away from it. Justin Hammer, 10 to 15.
10 to 15.
It was great, man. I mean,
But yeah, so we've set up the lead-in. I guess is going to be White Widow going after Hawkeye. But at the end of Hawkeye, you're going to have Kate Bishop as Hawkeye.
then you're going to have the young
Maybe she'll
Avengers.
kill Hawkeye.
Well, Kate Bishop, Kid Loki. So they're setting up both Young Avengers, Dark Avengers, and then the Avengers are just kind of
And the
getting
old
pushed aside.
Avengers.
I mean, and that's what I said in our podcast the other day. It's like my heroes are gone.
Yeah.
We are now going into the 2000s. The 2010s actually. I mean, you got the Young Avengers. You've got
Because they're setting up Kid Loki.
Yeah, they're setting up all that
of the-
stuff, and
yeah.
none of that stuff interests me whatsoever.
All right.
So that's
Podman run out after.
Well, we got Patriot, right? I mean,
150 episodes.
Wait,
Podman
when
run
is
out.
Patriot?
Patriot's Isaiah Bradley.
You know what I'd like to see? I would
Yes.
love to see, and they'll never do it. And if they do it, I'd prove me wrong, but an Invaders from World War II. With that,
Well,
they had the Human Torch. They showed him in Captain America.
Yeah.
Have a Union Jack.
We've got a namer.
Man, if we had
we'll soon have a namer.
we had a guy that dressed in that Union Jack costume. That's like the best costume in comics. I love the Union Jack. And then you have Namor. You have Union Jack. You have
Submariner.
the Bucky and
Submariner.
Submariner in there.
Bucky and Toro.
Toro. Man, sign me up.
Yeah,
Like
hey,
that.
you know, that's a good point. Do we? Let me grab that microphone.
that's okay.
That's a great point there. You know, we don't have sidekicks in the movies, do we?
No, see
I mean,
that's
we don't even have, not even a Robin.
We have Winter Soldier. He was a sidekick, kind of.
not.
Not a Bucky's. I mean, we never really saw
kind
that.
of kind of.
Yeah, but that's the thing is now we've established stature, right? Because they grew up. Ant-Man's daughter. You've got stature. You've got Patriot because they introduced him in Cap Winter Soldier.
Right. You got Kid Loki.
You got Kid Loki. Now you've got
Wiccan and
Miss Marvel.
Wiccan,
You got Miss Marvel,
and Speed,
yeah.
right? Wiccan and Speed. You've also got.
It's just a short time they're going to introduce Miles Morales.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Well, I think that's coming in Multiverse of Madness.
Or No Way Home.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, isn't that a thing that people have said?
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's going to have a lot of Spideys in it.
Too many
Well, the whole
Spideys.
thing that it's leading up to is the Marvel. It's no longer going to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to be the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. So then, everything is canon.
And television, yeah.
Too much.
Too much. All right, yeah.
So,
And then you've also set up Iron Lad because the kid from Iron Man 3.
Oh,
I guess, yeah. Maybe he's a little bit older, though, right? Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, this is where PMR are going to get off the Marvel train.
I think, you see, I've been off the Marvel train for a little bit.
Yeah, but you have no reason to be off the Marvel.
You know what you should check out?
I was just bored. You're right.
You should check out. What is it? I lost the name. Rizzoli and Isles.
Yeah.
That'll be right.
The armchair detective, and you would love it. Just sit back and try to guess the case.
You know, yeah, that's what you ought to do. Is just one night, turn on CBS.
Yeah.
Just turn on CBS and see how.
This is my age now.
See,
You know what? The CBS stuff's pretty good.
now all I need is Nick at Night.
Warm milk and CBS.
All I need is TV Land and CBS. I only need 2 channels.
Listening to Frank Sinatra. Yeah, Podman Ron has aged a lot over the years, I think. But no,
I'm just serious. I mean, I'm just serious.
I'm just serious.
Just serious.
No, listen to me. I got something to say.
I'm serious.
Here's the thing.
2 fingers. 2 fingers.
The problem is I've outlived,
Usefulness? You've outlived your usefulness?
I've outlived,
Marvel stopped with, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. Those are my, I got to see the Vision, Scarlet Witch.
You've lived your life.
And these movies, like I said, they move fast. So,
Life moves fast.
Comic books move at a slow pace.
Slow down, Black Widow. I don't understand what's going
You're
on.
going to pull something. When you're unconscious every, 3 minutes out of every 10, it's hard to follow a plot.
I give up.
What's happening?
We laugh, but I'm right there with you. I will watch an action movie, a stupid action movie, like F9 or something like that, and I'll just be like, I could have done something better with my life here. Even if it was taking a nap for a full 2 hours instead of just 30 minutes during the movie.
You know what? And I don't want to say it's because of our age, because I don't want to be like I'm ancient or anything, but it gets to a point where it's overwhelming. It's too much noise. It's lying on the screen.
Podman Ron's the one yelling out, hey, can you turn that theater sound down? Yeah, it's horrible.
I need help.
What's happening?
Where are those little lights on? I got to go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah, it does. It's just like, after a while, you're just like, okay, we get it. It's an action scene, you know? I mean, can you calm it down just a little bit?
But then he complains when it's not an action scene, he falls asleep.
All they do is talk and talk, and Christ almighty, when are they going to do something?
I think he would just prefer the movie was just 45 minutes.
You know what?
They should be. They
But look
should
at
be
this.
45 minutes.
You know, I was raised in the Lethal Weapon era.
Yeah,
where,
Richard
you know,
Donner, Rip. Yeah.
R.I.P. You know,
R.A.P. R.A.P.
where,
Richard Donner.
you know, Murtaugh and Riggs would just
Murtaugh.
talk about their feelings really quick.
Right,
They would just
right.
be like, hey, man, you know,
Yeah.
I'm getting old. Yeah, play the saxophone. Oh, dude, getting too old for this stuff. Let's go kick some ass. And that was it.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't go and just yak. And then the action was like, boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yak.
Yak, boom, boom, yak.
Boom, and then it was good. I mean, everything made sense.
Well, now I think, part of it,
Now they talk way too long.
yeah.
When they do talk, they keep on and on and on.
Says the members of a podcast.
And then
We can't get a podcast in under 90 minutes.
then when there's an action scene, it's just
too much.
It's over the top.
Well, I mean,
it's
what
like,
some of
oh,
the
God,
some
really?
of the
Come on,
scenes
man.
at one point, I guess when Black Widow was falling and something's blowing up in the sky and she's falling and she's walking on something whilst the plate is falling and then Taskmaster lands and he's running and so it's just again to your point, Podman, it's too much to where you're like, okay, I mean not every. I get it. We live in the world where every action scene has to top the one right before
Right,
it. If you get to it to where it turns into F9 and you're like, well, now I'm out. This is too ridiculous, right?
I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on and on. It's like, okay, you can do an action scene and make it interesting without being so over the top. I mean,
Well,
it doesn't
see,
have
but
to
here's
be.
the problem. You can't have it both ways. If you want to have an action scene that doesn't have to go over the top, like run down the side of a building and act like gravity doesn't exist, then you actually have to have stakes and a good bad guy. You have to have a good bad guy that's menacing, that the audience is actually fearful will win. Right? You have to have a good plot and a good bad guy that can carry that. Then you don't have to go nuts with the action scene because you have stakes.
You got something interesting to say.
Yeah, you have something interesting to say and actual stakes
And you're
for
right.
the characters.
In both of these movies, F9 and this movie, they had very weak bad guys.
There's no stakes. So if there's no stakes, then you just got to blow shit up. Like that's it's like, well, the bad guy's pretty weak. We'll just blow more shit up.
Honestly, I don't know, other than just taking down the Red Room, what. There was no countdown to any type of bomb or any bad thing going on. I mean, she was just taking down the Red Room. She just found out that guy was still alive, and she was just taking that down. So there was no immediate threat to anybody. So it just, I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo on the movie, but it was good. It was decent, but I know you are going to sound flip-flop, but it could have been better.
I'd see it again.
You know what? I think I'll go tomorrow.
Hey, go right after this. Let's go.
I did notice something.
I think about. Let me make one more point real quick. Okay. So I think I'm trying to think of a better example of this. But if you look at Inglourious Bastards, right, and Christoph Waltz and how evil and like that character was, I can't think of a Hollywood character like that. In the past, even more recent than that. But Christoph Waltz, Nazi. Menacing, a psychopath. They took their time to establish that character, and they had stakes.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Thanos. Thanos is a good character.
But how long? But it took how many movies? It took 20 movies to establish him. Right.
They were just too slow.
So you think Winter Soldier, right? Robert Redford was a pretty good bad guy. You had the twist kind of driving that.
It was.
You still had helicarriers crashing into each other, but I feel like you didn't have to go as over the top in that movie because you had a good bad guy.
Yeah.
And so if they would spend some time, if they'd spend some time developing a good bad guy, then yeah, they can ease back on some of this nonsense and then not have to top it every stinking movie. And it's like, well, what was different in the Red Room crashing to the ground than Winter Soldier when two helicarriers crashed into each other and crashed to the ground? Right. And they're both like running and diving through the debris and everything. Right. It's the exact same thing. And honestly, both of these are the spy thriller films. And so they have a very similar sort of, ending. So,
yeah,
Jacob.
you're right. I mean, it needs to be they need to work on villains. Villains are very weak.
Well, and that's a Marvel thing, right? Bring on the bad guys.
Yeah. Jacob.
Okay, so I did notice something that they also do with Loki, but they keep, like, for mysterious villains, they keep referencing them as he, and then it turns out to be a woman. Like, have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Taskmaster, he turned out to be
the world's
his daughter.
very sexist.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's like...
not supporting that.
We love the ladies.
I kind of wish they would quit making bad guys redeemable. You know, you had Loki was a good villain, but now because everybody loved him. Now. Yeah. He's a hero. You know, I mean, they constantly do that. They do that in the comic
Loki
books.
was
Magneto was
Sandman,
Magneto, Doctor Doom is half a good guy half the
Camelot.
time, bad guy half the time.
Well, see, the problem there is in Hollywood, you know, you get them if you don't have a point of view. It just turns all that. It just becomes super mustache twirly, you know. I'm just evil because I'm evil. No, you got to have a point of view. So I get that, but that doesn't mean that they need to be sympathetic.
Right.
So, but
that's the problem.
But I don't
right
think
now in Hollywood
I think those things are entwined, and like people aren't able to separate them. It's like, okay, I need to give this villain context and a backstory,
right?
But that doesn't mean they necessarily need to be sympathetic,
right? I think you're right. I think Hollywood and just the way we are in society now, it wants to make an excuse for bad guys and why people are evil and why sometimes people are just evil.
The only true evil bad guys are Nazis.
But I mean, look at serial killers. Look at Ted Bundy or Wayne Gacy or stuff.
But see, that's the thing
They're
too.
Bad guys. They're just evil shithead people.
But also some of that.
So why can't you just have a bad guy? He's just a shithead. He's just a bad guy.
That's the thing is they want to attract an actor, and the actor's like, well, I just don't want to be. You tell me why. Tell me what's my character arc. Tell me what's my motivation for this.
You're a pervert that hate people and that you want to kill people. There you go. There's
and then Jackie Earle Haley will be the only bad guy in the Marvel universe.
I mean, you know what? I'd be okay with that.
I mean, at some point you just got to say evil is evil, and there was no my dad was bad to me, or I grew up to be an orphan, and I hate the world.
Don't we all grow up to be orphans eventually?
Yeah, and we live long enough like Podman Ryan, and you hate the world. Yeah, maybe Podman Ryan's a bad guy, and we just don't know it yet.
What's his motivation?
I have no sympathy for him.
I just want a bad guy. Yeah. I just want someone to be bad.
Well, but Omar loves the bad boys.
I mean, he's a bad guy.
He just wants a bad boy.
We don't need to be.
Want the bad boy.
Well, you know what? This guy.
I want something that says Daddy likes leather.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, the bad guy in Black Widow, the main bad guy was just a bad guy. You don't know why he was a Russian.
And you like that.
I like that, but he sucked, so I don't understand.
Maybe that's why they couldn't get a better actor. Because he didn't have a sympathetic backstory, yeah.
It's very polar with Marvel. You either get a sympathetic bad guy or just pure evil. There's no in between.
Or no anything.
Because even Thanos,
or no anything, exactly.
As good as Thanos was, they still made him like he had a reason for what he wanted to do.
And it made sense.
I liked it.
I thought
it was a good idea.
I thought it was a good idea.
I didn't see nothing wrong with it.
Well, which is interesting because it's like, obviously Namor's going to have a point of view, right?
Of course.
So we already know that.
Everybody's got a point of view.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with Doctor Doom.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be a sympathetic character because his face got messed up.
Well, but
he's not pretty.
Here's the thing, though. I would argue Doctor Doom is probably the most important casting Marvel has since the original Avengers, right? Dr. Doom, they got to get right.
Yeah.
If they don't get Dr. Doom right,
like that lame guy they used for the last one.
right. But yeah, if they don't get Dr. Doom right in the MCU,
hello, Reed.
because
Hello, Reed.
If they want to milk this cow in perpetuity, you set up Dr. Doom, and Dr. Doom's got to be on par. Casting, character development, all that with Robert Downey Jr.
Who would you cast as Dr. Doom?
I don't know. But what I'm saying is, if you could literally make Dr. Doom the anti Tony Stark and have him. I would love Phase 5 to be bring on the bad guys, like I said it earlier. But let the good guys lose, and let the good guys lose repeatedly. And you find out it's all because Dr. Doom's like pulling the chains in the background, right, to set up Dr. Doom as the Thanos. It doesn't need to be Kang, right? We've already seen that. It needs to be Dr. Doom.
Kang is a descendant of Dr. Doom, maybe? Oh, he's a descendant of Reed Richards, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we need Marvel to have some movies where the good guys lose. We need some Empire Strikes Back.
We had that in Infinity War.
Once. We need to have like systemic losses, right, to build up a bad guy. And if you spent the next like 5 or 6 movies or all of Phase 5 building up, Meteorite and Zemo and Dr. Doom and all of these bring in leader again. Like, if you establish all these bad guys that are actually a threat, and you've got these new Avengers who don't have the pedigree that their predecessors do, then now they've got to band together to win.
That would be good.
But I think what holds the glue that holds it all together would be Dr. Doom, and then you bring in Fantastic Four. So
that's a freebie, Marvel.
That's a freebie.
There you go. They're listening.
Do something.
They're not.
Brad's standing up.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to take off now, I guess.
Brad's walking out.
We're going to have to follow him up to the car.
Taking my mic and I'm out of here. You've not convinced me at all to watch Black Widow, but I will eventually. But I'm in no rush to go see it. No. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show here. This is the episode number 150. If we name it 150. If we want to wait for Alex, we could make this 149 and a half, but it's 150. So any thoughts, Podman Ron, thoughts on the past 150 episodes? Are we going to continue for a few more?
Yeah, absolutely we'll continue. We've got a lot coming out. Ghostbusters, James Bond, Shang-Chi, Eternals.
Any good rom-coms that you might be interested in, or time travel movies? I don't know.
Lots of stuff coming out.
Lots of good stuff coming out. Brian, what do you see next for the Podmen? What are the Podmen going to do now? We've been doing this for a number of years. One of the longest running podcasts in history.
We need to really get listeners out there to subscribe to our Instagram.
Subscribe and maybe subscribe to the podcast.
That would be nice too.
Yeah. Subscribe to Instagram. Yeah. That's how it works, right?
And like the podcast.
Right. Like the podcast. You know what? Even send us some email. Send us a message through Instagram.
Send us a postcard. Let us know how you're doing.
And what
get lonely.
What email
What are
address,
you guys doing?
What email address should the listeners be sending?
Just message us on our Instagram.
Yeah, and the Instagram name is. God damn. It's at the Podmen, all lowercase, all one word, no hyphens, no underscores, none of that stuff. Or you can always email us at thepodman@gmail.com. Yes, we actually do have our own email address, Podman Ron.
Email us and let us know how we're doing. I mean,
To which it's clogged with Old Davy coupons.
We don't really get a whole lot of listener feedback on that Gmail account.
But we will. This is, we got some big sponsors coming up.
PMR read the promise.
Yeah, we got some ideas.
And he's going to will it into existence.
Yeah, we will get it. The secret.
The secret. That's what it is, the secret. I'm sorry.
Yes. Jacob, we've had you on for a couple of shows here.
Board.
He got his vision board. And all it says is more listeners. And the vision crying.
The Vision crying on the vision board. Jacob, we've had you for a few episodes here, and we certainly love having you on, Jacob. And you had a great point of view from a young Marvel fan and movie fan here. Have you ever thought about doing your own podcast, taking the show into your own hands?
Yes, I have.
You have.
What kind of podcast would you have?
After you've listened to us, right?
Well, yeah, because I don't know. I wanted to be a part of the podcast for a while, and somebody didn't let me. But I do have one thing to say. Alex is out. Jacob is in. Let's
All right,
go.
you get it. Episode number 151. Alex is out, I think.
Alex is gone.
Or is Jacob the Podman's Poochie?
Yep, we're bringing him in.
He went
Poochie.
back to his planet.
Poochie went back to his home planet.
So what kind of podcast would you start, Jacob?
Oh, just talking. I don't know.
Just talking.
I don't know.
Jacob's
Jacob's
thoughts.
thoughts.
French
Jacob's
fry
head.
recipes. French fry hacks.
Go to Five Guys.
Everything is to put sugar on it. Well, have you thought about just putting sugar on that peanut butter?
Have you tried sugar?
No,
My secret ingredient.
sugar. Glucose.
Have you guys heard of this? It's called sugar.
Sugar cast with
Oh,
Jacob.
You all liked the sugar tots, so you can hush.
Yep.
All right.
He got fired for calling his boss Sugar Tots.
Yeah, well, that happens. I mean,
Listen, Sugar Tots.
Listen, Sugar Tots, I'm going to need Saturday off. My dad and his tattooed up friend's going to go pick up my girlfriend. So I'm going to have that whole day off.
Who's that guy in the car with you?
I don't think I know him. You know what?
Good Lord.
The loops in his ears are just fine. He's fine.
Yeah, he's got gauges.
Yeah, he's fine.
Deal with
Even
it.
his nose is good.
He's all good. He's all good. All right, well, great.
That's my life partner.
We do. He's his life partner in there. Well, we will at some point welcome Alex back. We'll have to hear what Alex is saying, and here comes some pod minis.
Here comes some pod minis.
Pod minis. We're
Would you like
closing
to
out the
shout out
show. Do
something?
you want to do a shout out?
Any shout outs you want to give pod minis?
Sponsor! Yes.
What?
Sponsor!
Sponsor. They're
Sponsor.
calling for a sponsor, I think.
Check out the Invisibles and other stuff.
Oh yeah, Grayson is plugging his channel, his YouTube channel, The Invisiverse,
What's Grayson's YouTube?
Jonah,
The
do you have
Invisible
any,
Universe, and other stuff.
Pod mini Jonah, do you have any shout outs?
I like French fries.
No, not Fry Guy.
Do you guys remember the corkscrew?
Yep, the corkscrew. Yep, that was a good. Who was that? You?
That
or
was me,
that
yeah.
Alex?
I was
Okay,
corkscrew.
not sure. Yeah.
The Pod Mini Jonah and Pod Mini Joshua told me something earlier today about the next Fast and the Furious movie. And this comes from, what is it? What's the podcast you listen to? Or
It's
the
not a podcast.
Film Theory.
It's
It's,
film theory. It's a YouTube.
Film Theory. Yeah.
Film Theory. But they proposed a name for the next Fast and the Furious film. And honestly, if Vin Diesel doesn't use this, he's a complete and utter idiot. So Joshua, what's the proposed name for Fast and the Furious 10?
It was Fast 10 your seatbelts.
I love it. That's a great. You know what? I think hopefully Alex can get you a job writing script somewhere or another. That's a good idea. I love it.
If Vin Diesel doesn't use this as the name, he's a complete and utter idiot. And if
Yeah.
Vin Diesel says the name's too ridiculous, I just want him to watch his last movie.
Wow. See, calling out.
Calling out Vin Diesel.
Yeah, that's not
Vin
smart.
Diesel, if you're listening, Pod Minis are calling you out.
And a side of fries.
All right, there you go. Side of fries from Fry Guy.
And a side of fries.
So you,
That's about 30 years too late, Odin. That's okay, good.
They've been yelling it all night.
Yeah, we've been yelling it all night in the pool.
Oh,
like,
Oh my God, it's devolved.
It's not been good.
would the
All right.
pod women like to say something on the podcast?
This is for the 150th episode, Nancy.
Yeah, you've already talked. You've already
You
said
were
Dave,
yapping before the podcast.
Would you like to say something?
no, not at this point.
Wow, no, nothing. They have nothing to
They
say.
have nothing to say. I'm sure we'll get an earful later.
I'm sure. I mean, it would be interesting to see, to get the insight of the wife of,
Yeah, well, do you wanna
podcasters
get your
who've done
insight onto
150
Black Widow?
episodes.
Black Window.
Black Widow.
Thank you, PMR.
Yeah, I know. It catches.
It is catchy.
What'd you think about Black Widow?
Me.
Man,
tell you what I thought.
that was pretty much what everybody
I'll
thought.
tell you what I thought. There was probably only solid 2 minutes of actual story that actually contributed to the MCU, and it left on a cliffhanger anyway.
You're wet.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Well,
I wasn't invited, so I can't add anything.
yeah. Nancy didn't get invited to the movie, so.
It was I didn't invite her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Podwoman Tamara, she missed out on the movie because I kept having to wake up Podman Ron. I neglected to keep her from nodding off.
Wow, this was not a good movie to keep people away. Now that we do have some of the podwives here, what is life like being married to
Celebrities.
the podmen, the celebrities? Again, this is 150 episodes of 5 years in the making. Does that sound about right?
I like how at the beginning of this, Suzanne looked like she'd never heard of the Podmen before. She was like, "You have a podcast?"
What? What's going on?
I've tried to get her to listen every once in a while.
It's quality me time that I don't have to fight for.
There you go.
Wow. All right. Quality me time. But I will say that, the Podwives, they are the ones that really support us on the Instagram. Podman.
Yes, we do.
They don't listen.
Whereas they don't
But they'll
listen to the
like.
podcast, but they'll like it.
like it.
We got cake.
Yeah, there's cake here. It says, the 150th cake. Yeah,
It's our
Cake
celebration.
out. Where's the cake? I'm getting cake.
All right. Well, we're going to get some cake here, and we'll hear from Alex hopefully next week.
Make sure to check out Kaiju Belation.
Oh, that's right. Kaiju Belation is another upcoming podcast from Grayson.
That Grayson knows how to promote himself. Yeah. We should do like Grayson. Grayson's out here promoting his own stuff, and we don't even do that.
Grayson, it's not one way.
Great name for a podcast.
Yes, Grayson wants to do a Godzilla and a Kaiju podcast. So Kaiju Belation. Be listening for that coming
We
soon.
need to put Grayson in charge of our
Godzilla
podcast.
was taken, and something else was taken.
We don't want to advertise these people.
That's right.
Lisa.
So that came up with Kaiju.
All right, very good. So we'll listen to. We got Grayson's Kaiju podcast. Brian's going to do a wrestling podcast. Jacob's going to do Jacob's Mind, and he's going to do a cooking and wrestling podcast
With Nancy.
with Nancy.
Wrestling with
What's that?
Yeah, wrestling with recipes.
Oh, wrestling with recipes. That's pretty good.
Boschcast.
The
We got the
and then,
Boschcast.
PMR is going to move over to the Boschcast.
You guys could you guys could make a podcast about your Bosch, like that thing you were talking about earlier with like the restaurants.
Bosch Bus Tour.
We don't talk about that, kid. We're not going to bring that one up here.
I do have one thing to say, Grayson. It's not one-sided. You're gonna have to shout out the Podmen in your YouTube channel.
No, that's right. He will have to. You'll have to promote the
Cross-promotion.
Podman. Exactly. All right. Well, very good. Well, again, you hear the celebration is in full effect now.
How's the cake, PMR?
I don't know what the hell this cake is.
Great cake here, PMR. I would love to have a piece.
It looks
but,
like cornbread with
I don't-
icing.
No, it's
Not far off with the icing.
No, okay, well, maybe I'll have some cookies if the kids have left any of those.
Pork rinds.
Is it pork rinds?
Crunchy. That's a Podman Run trade is the pork rinds and during the podcast. Crackling good. All right, well, okay. Oh, the key lime cookies. How are those?
Oh, I thought it was mold.
It didn't stop him from eating them.
Hey, keeps eating.
As he puts it in his mouth.
Delicious. All right. Well,
This turned into a taste testing podcast.
that's great. If you want to have a taste testing podcast, you can do that. Again, we've got it. This is going to be the Podman channel.
It's gonna be called Sticky
Yeah.
Fingers.
Really
Sticky Fingers. That's a great name for our recipe, our cooking podcast.
No, it's specific.
we did have on our podcast are now gone.
No, for a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the name.
Okay.
It's gonna be named Sticky Fingers.
All right. Well, there you go. Listen up
There's
for
already a Pornhub channel called that.
Okay, it's already on Pornhub. Well, anyway.
On that note.
Good idea. On that note, Again, we want to thank.
Tons of listeners.
Yeah, we want to thank.
Why we don't
And listeners, you're right. There are children in the room.
We want to thank Mark.
That's why the judge wants us to keep children a distance away from PMR.
Before we close out, I do want to thank Mark for being our listener for 150 podcasts.
I want to thank Mark for sticking with us for 150 episodes.
Gone after this episode.
Well, maybe, but you know,
150 episodes, nearly 500 hours.
of pure bliss. All right. Well, good night, folks. But until next time,
save it for the podcast.